Hello, and a warm welcome to our countdown of the top 50 World Cup goals. And enjoy our selection, starting with a goal that gave a whole continent liftoff in 2010.
Well, the thing that stands out in the Shabalala goal was, obviously, it was the first goal of the 2010 World Cup. The expectations of a nation, or a continent, in fact, all on their shoulders, South Africa, but also the 1 and 2 touch, the beginning of the move on the halfway line was exquisite.
Taylor, Matisse, it's a really good ball, it's Shabalala! Goal, Bafana, Bafana! Goal for South Africa! Goal for all Africa!
He unleashed this finish to match the move, and it was an absolutely wonderful goal.
You kind of felt like the tournament had liftoff at that moment, you know, you just felt like the whole thing had...
We're used to seeing it. We're used to seeing it with the technology, the lightweight footballs, the fantastic, lightweight boots as well. But with those heavy footballs like they had in '66, to be able to do that was something that Europeans hadn't seen. It was magical.
There was big pressure on Spain as well because they'd lost to Switzerland the game before, and so it was imperative that they got a win. And against Honduras, people like David Villa stepped up to the plate.
Nice ball from Piqué. Villa. Still going, lovely feet from David Villa. What a goal! What a goal!
Quick feet, sort of pulls it back on his left and then back on his right, and he just gets that little half a yard, and I think he's falling back when he hits it, but it's absolute exquisite finish, and it was a perfect solo goal for Spain.
Rescue. And it's down the left that they concentrate this attack. Oh! What a stunning blow that one is!
The camera picks him up, and it looks like he's actually meaning to cross, and I have to say, I think that gives it away. I'm not sure he meant it.
Was it a fluke? I don't think it was. Give him the total credit.
He's a great player, and he probably thinks he deserves the benefit of the doubt. The fantastic thing about the Borghetti goal is that I just can't remember seeing a header like that in any game.
Blanco looking for Borghetti. Oh, he got a good touch, and he scored a very good goal.
Did he quite know where the goalkeeper was? Who knows? It was Buffon. He's beaten him. Superb finish.
It's become an iconic World Cup goal. Look, it was a great strike. Let's first and foremost, let's applaud the actual finish.
We were talking about Miller, good turn. Miller inside the penalty area. He gets off the line. Roger Miller's done it.
Great Sele. He sort of engineers it for himself from on his right foot and onto his left side, but he hits it so sweet and so true.
Everything about him was immaculate. His touch on the ball was exemplary. His vision was fantastic. His ability, to keep his head in a situation like that. He had the goal at his will. He could make the ball sing, dance, whatever. There was nothing hurried about him. It was like he was playing in slow motion. A classic goal from one of the players that you would have to put in the top 5 of all time.
Still on the ball. Father Cesar, Brazilians picking up the pace now, putting some pressure, real hard pressure. On the Sigma defense, Castell. And here's Pelé. Gentino. There it is. Gentino gets it.
You know the football phrase, he's got eyes in the back of his head. Somebody check Pelé next time they see him, because how he knows where Jairzinho is down to pure footballing instinct. And because the ball is instantly under control, he has the entire situation under control, and he can decide who scores, how and when. Here, you have it. Look how they celebrate that goal. I mean, so many wonderful individuals in the team. I guess there must have been egos in the team, but there's absolutely no sign of it there. We're all affected by our boyhood heroes, and 1970 was a wonderful time to be a boy with that team to watch.
Geoff Hurst was always quite self-deprecating about that goal. He said all he wanted to do was hit it as hard as he could, as far as he could, and if it went into the crowd and run the clock down, well, then he was quite happy. But listen, there was much more to it than that. You know, this was a man who sort of dragged the German defence all over the pitch, and suddenly he's switched up and he's just lashed it. And it's almost like, you know, an outpouring of emotion. But it was one of those great moments. I'm sure every Englishman who was at Wembley that day, every Englishman who was watching the game at home on television will be able to say, well, I know exactly where I was, exactly what I was doing when Geoff Hurst scored that fourth goal.
So wriggled past 2 or 3 and then just takes it to one side on his right foot, and he was always a big, powerful lad. He was always very capable of this sort of thing. And once he just knocks it to one side, bang, I mean, it's an unstoppable shot. Goalkeeper don't even see it.
Amokachi plowing through. And that will go down as one of the best of the competition.
Big moment for him and a fantastic moment for the Nigerians. Great goal.
Hopefully that's got you in the mood. After the break, we'll have 20 more belters for you, including a German legend, an Italian World Cup winner, and one of England's finest. Welcome back. We are counting down our top 50 World Cup goals of all time. Here come numbers 40 to 21, starting with one of the highlights of France '98.
This is Najenka. And he's being invited to go a long way here. Still Najenka. He's gone right through and scores! Oh, what a goal! The Austrian defence in total disarray. But he still had to show great composure in front of goal.
The thing that you remember as much as anything is the ball forward to Didier Cisse. You know, suddenly the ball stabbed forward, and when you're watching it on television, you think, well, that's fairly aimless.
Latany. And Cisse is clear and onside and strikes a superb shot.
And he's taken the ball on his chest, and you think, great, wonderful control. Take another touch, swat it past the goalkeeper. No, not even a thought of taking another touch. It was an instant volley, perfectly executed. That was a goal that any Brazilian would have been proud to have on his highlight tape.
They were obviously 1-0 down against Germany in the quarter-final in '94. They equalised, and then Lechkov gets across his defender, diving header right in the top corner, and it was all about the ball into the box and the movement. The defender standing still, and he just gets in front, and this perfect diving header straight into the net, and a big surprise, certainly for Germany.
And a goal on! Lechkov!
Knocking out Germany in the quarter-finals just gives you that little fillip going into the rest of the tournament. It was a surprise for them, and I think moving forward it was always going to be difficult for them to beat that result.
What he always had, he had a great turn of speed, and he was very comfortable on either side, and he plays a fantastic little give and go on the edge of the box, you know, at full speed, really going for it. Bump, little 1-2, gets into the box, and then even then adjusts his feet well to just sort of toe end it with his left foot. He could get across the ground really quick, and as I say, had lovely close control, and that's a brilliant goal.
Maradona scores a team goal, whatever next. They were popping it about nicely, they were. The opening doors all over the place. But there was still a pass on, actually, when it came back to Maradona, but he thought, no, my turn now. My return to the team needs marking with something special. Stand aside, everybody. Watch this.
Maradona! Oh! Maradona scores! And he has marked his return to international football with a stunning strike.
We thought it showed a man back at his best, but his celebrations told us another story, and obviously subsequent events prove that that shot was fueled by more than just his left foot.
Well, Fring's goal is great because the ball comes to him a little bit slow. It gets played across, and when the ball's coming across you have to wait. The his technique's ready to go, but you have to wait for the ball to come across your left foot, then plant your left foot, and so the defenders are closing you down. You've got to be patient and know the timing of it, and he gets it absolutely perfect.
Torsten Frings has hit it! Fabulous!
To get a swerve on it, you obviously have to hit across the ball a little bit, and that ball was a little bit controversial, as most of the World Cup balls tend to be, but he's hit it perfectly well. He's got the strike. If you slice across it too much, you lose the power, but he gets swerve and power, which is it's not easy to do.
Ilano. Maicon getting forward and in behind North Korea. Maicon drives it in!
Maicon's goal, I have to step in here and join the fullbacks union. I think if it had been me scoring that goal, everyone would have said it was a fluke and it was a miss-hit cross. But the fact that it's Maicon and he's Brazilian, I think says all you need to know.
It's a fantastic swerve on the ball now. Did he mean that?
I expect him to cross it, and certainly the goalkeeper did. And he's sort of on the half, going to dive across his goal, and he's hit it. If you look at his body angle, just as he's hitting the ball, he does open himself up to slice across the ball and hit it in that bottom corner. So I'm on Maicon's side. It was definitely meant that. It wasn't a cross.
Another great goal, this one, from Anatoly Bishevitz, who effectively, when he's running at the fullback, you're not quite sure whether he's going to come inside or go outside. That's always a bit of a problem for the defenders, of course. And when he decides to come inside, he takes that extra sort of couple of touches to just get the right, for just the right moment, just needs half a yard just to really hit that with his left foot.
What a good goal! What a marvellous goal from Wiesbeck! Picks that out of the net. We won't see a better goal than that in this World Cup.
He hammers that right into the top corner. It's a brilliant goal.
There haven't been many players in the history of the game who can run with the ball faster than the defenders running without the ball. And it helps, of course, when you get them running backwards, and it helps when you've got that kind of balance and manoeuvrability that Maradona had.
Here's Maradona now. Is this number 2? Oh, brilliant.
His speed across the ground with the ball tied to his foot is what made him so special and what made that World Cup his World Cup.
When he receives the ball just on the half turn, as soon as he gets it, he's running. And then once he skips past that first challenge, once he eliminates that defender, then all of a sudden you know that there may be trouble ahead.
Matthäus with some space. Supporting play, Voller and Klinsmann. Matthäus can go again. Oh, great goal!
Very good at eating up the ground that was available in front of him, gets to the edge of the box and not afraid to shoot. You know, excellent finish.
Names are not fictitious. Vasily Rats of Dynamo Kiev scored against Joel Bats of Paris Saint-Germain.
Keeping possession comfortably enough. Goal given away then by Ledikov. Benanov. Shot from Rats. Magnificent goal by Rats.
So here's the quiz question. Name another instance in the history of the World Cup when the goal scorer and the goalkeeper's names rhymed. I don't know.
And the technique, well, just unrivaled, unquestioned technique.
Now Cerezo, Leandro, 2 men only in the box at the moment. Oh, that is a great goal! What a magnificent goal by Vico!
An overhead kick like that in a pressure game, magnificent. To me, one of my heroes.
At that time, we weren't used to seeing too many people throw one leg up first and then bang, hit it with the trailing leg. And, you know, when you see goals like that, wow, you know, it's a real moment.
That 1982 team was absolutely magnificent, and probably the most crazily exhibitionist goal you'll see.
And now Serginho on the burst. Chance here for Adair to make it 3. Oh, what an intelligent clip. Oh, that was pure genius.
He could have done anything with it, but in the end he thought, well, OK, I'll just show you what else I can do. I've got a little chip, a chip that humiliates goalkeepers, because there is nothing worse than standing there and watching a ball go over your head and there's absolutely nothing you could do. And there it was, in the back of the net, a goalkeeper flat-footed.
It's a dramatic goal because it means so much. It's the last minute of extra time. It puts England into the quarter-finals of the World Cup. A split second before he scores the goal, David Platt is facing his own goal. He's outside the width of the Belgian goal, and the ball is dropping towards him from quite a height from Paul Gascoigne. So to follow it round, which he has to do as he pivots and spins, and to actually catch up with it with your foot, and then strike the ball as cleanly as that is some skill to perform.
Chin there. And
As soon as all there, you think it's special, absolutely special. To do that in such a high intensity, hyper-fast game, minutes from end, delight, to be able to talk off for the do that, for the great England goals in the World Cup.
Gascoigne chips it in. I think he's hoping for the best. I think it would be pushing it to say that he knew exactly where the ball was going to land and that Platt would swing a volley onto it. It's a brilliant finish, fantastic finish, and a crucial goal for England.
I remember Ian Wright talking to David Platt at the training ground and saying, Platt, that goal was lucky. And Platt came out with the age-old saying, you know, the more I practice, the luckier I get. Talk about vision, talk about awareness. You know, you talk about sort of, you know, great players seeing pictures and painting pictures in their mind that ordinary mortals can't see. Well, that ball was the absolute epitome of that.
Oh, that's a lovely ball through. Danger here from Stoichkov, who'll get inside the Mexican penalty area. It's a wonderful strike. Terrific goal for Bulgaria from Hristo Stoichkov.
When they broke with such pace, and you can see him at the top of the screen just sort of herring off on this run. He goes past one without the ball, and then he's put a great through ball into his path, and then the covering defender, who's really deep, comes across and he leaves him for dead as well. Gets it on his favoured left foot and smashes it in. It's an absolutely brilliant goal from a brilliant player.
Pushed up for offside, the Czechs. It is in an offside position if it's delivered to him yet. But still, Badger. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes! What a goal by Badger!
He just floats across the ground. There's only one defender who really gets close to getting in a challenge. He just sort of scoots away from him, and then he's running at the rest of the defence, and he's got them completely under his spell. He can go either way. He can decide who he's going to go past. He can decide when and how he's going to score the goal. He's that much in control at that moment.
His first touch just scoops it onto his left foot, and then almost falling back, he's challenged, and he kind of like falls back and hits it on this like half volley. But it was what happened after was the most memorable thing for me. That celebration, that passion, and he's running straight towards the camera. The emotion in him is just, I think, encapsulates everything about a World Cup in that one moment.
He was one of those great players who could step up into any position. You know, he played at fullback, but you could have put him in midfield.
Breitner coming forward. Breitner's shot! Yes! What a beauty!
He was a left back, and here using his right foot with, whacking a cannonball. Two-footed player, great player. The fantastic thing about the Jairzinho run, a great finish, great goal, but it's the build-up.
Jairzinho, Pele, cuts down. Nice little touch off there from Pele. Jairzinho, and he's round Matosas. What will Matosas do here? He scores! Yes!
There's a little flick from Pele just in the centre circle, which sort of gets the whole thing moving, and it's a tiny, tiny touch, but the class of the mark of a genius. Brilliant.
There were fast, athletic players back in 1970, and Jairzinho was one of them. He outruns the defence, almost outmuscles the last defender in order to score the goal.
Well, the beauty about this Klinsmann goal is how he finds the space in the box.
Thomas Hassler, has he got a shooting opportunity? It's a little bit wide. Balls to Klinsmann. Oh, what a goal! Jurgen Klinsmann, that was class.
He's almost being marked. He's running into the box. He gets to a certain area, and then he just pulls off into a little bit. And I think he uses his for the ball, and the technique around his perfection.
Goal pass continued after break, including a Scottish Montes full track, the most famous Brazilian of them all, and an England World Cup hero. Welcome back to our World Cup goals countdown. We continue with numbers 20 to 6, and at number 20, one of England's few highlights from 2006.
Go through this list of 50 goals, and there are many spectacular ones, but actually this one is undoubtedly one of the most eye-catching, just because the dip on the volley is staggering.
Beckham squeezing across here. Crouch is waiting there. So too is Lampard. Good defended by Tobias Linderoth. Joe Cole, why not? Swinging shot, brilliant! Oh, why not? Absolutely fantastic goal from Joe Cole.
We sort of probably talk about these sort of goals as if it should come from Brazilians, South Americans, but here was a good old English lad, Cockney, London lad, performing a great feat on the biggest stage.
The look on Joe's face as he scored that goal, you know, one of those memories that he will live with for the rest of his life. To my dying day, I'll never know how Kubias does this. He scores a goal that looks physically impossible.
Kubilas, number 10, might well be the player to watch here, we shall see. Here he comes, Kubilas drives it in, and it's a goal! Well, Kubilas, brilliant third goal for Peru.
Kubias has hit it with the outside of his right foot. Nobody could even imagine anybody thinking about that, let alone pulling it off so spectacularly.
I've not seen many free kicks where somebody has strolled up to the ball and just sort of caressed it, if you like, with the outside of their boot. I mean, he, first and foremost, he's nice and relaxed, and he just sort of strolls up to the ball and he just does it so effortlessly, so perfectly, showed real class.
You think of great Brazilian goals and you think of them scored by forwards or midfielders, but this was a right back.
Joseba. Good effort, oh, and a goal!
A gangly, spider-legged right back whose limbs didn't look as if they should be attached to his body. They had a life of their own. But suddenly he's galloped forward, and it was a fantastic goal.
Well, I played with Gio at Arsenal, and he was always a very, very technical player, which you would expect from a Dutch player. He was almost perfect on the pitch in that respect, and this goal sums his technique up.
Sneijder, De Zeeuw, Van Bronckhorst. Well, he's gone from range and he's found an absolute beauty. Stunning goal by the Dutch captain, Gio Van Bronckhorst.
He basically just hits it straight and it goes like an arrow straight into the top corner. Absolutely brilliant goal.
I think purely for the distance that he was out there, the magnitude of the game, I do think that probably was the best goal of the tournament, yeah.
I loved Adair. Everything that he did in that tournament was brilliant, and he had such confidence in his own ability. He could do anything he liked with his left foot, and that volley, you know, after the little dummy, he's flicked it up and just lashed it.
There's Adair, oh! And Adair, it's net victory for the Brazilians.
All I can remember is the goalkeeper standing for about 5 seconds after the ball's in the back of the net in exactly the same position. He was one of the great Brazilian players, certainly of that era. Everybody remembers Zico, they remember Socrates, Falcao, but Adair was something special.
Headed away by Henriksen, came to Garcia, and then Rodriguez, oh!
Garcia's touch, or his touches, they're almost playful, aren't they? It's almost like a bit of sort of training ground keepy-uppy. And then eventually just sort of lifts it towards Rodriguez and says, go on, son, you know, get your foot through that, have a strike of that.
It was like an impossible dream at that point. It looked like Scotland were coming home. But Archie Gemmill actually got the whole of Scottish football and maybe British supporters on their feet thinking they can actually qualify here because they had to score 4 goals. And Archie, I think, made it the 3rd one. It's just a wonderful, wonderful goal. The hard part is actually his final touch, because when you beat people on instinct like that, it kind of comes natural, you don't have to think. But then he gets into a position where he has to think for 2 seconds, and there's a lull in proceedings. It's just him and the goalkeeper. And after beating play, he actually relax, punch and back on that. A wonderful finish.
That's the good first we're seeing the whole of the competition. competition.
To be honest, I'm as much struck by seeing all these fantastic Scottish internationals. You look at the team, Dalglish, Souness, Asa Hartford running over to celebrate, and it really makes you pine for the days when Scotland did produce this sort of football.
It's just an outrageous place to shoot from. I mean, they've got 3 or 4 players rushing into the box waiting for a cross.
Nelinho. Oh, that's a good one!
You don't try that kind of shot unless you know you can score from there and everybody else in the team knows you can score from there. Your instincts tell you that it must have been deflected, but I've watched it a few times now and I can't see a deflection. I think that all the bend is Nelinho's bend. I don't think it touches anything between the outside of his little toe and the inside of the post. Bobby Charlton, left-footed or right-footed?
He could go left foot or right foot. It wasn't a problem for him to have a shot off either side.
I guess the answer is with the foot that he carries the ball from inside his own half at great pace, his left foot. But then that just makes the shot with the right foot all the more special, doesn't it?
He's taken the ball from his own half, he's taken it at pace.
He does a little sidestep to just give him half a yard and then hits the right footer straight into the top corner.
It was a magnificent goal.
I think, you know, obviously 66 will be remembered for the final, but you have to get to a final, and goals like that enabled England to progress to, you know, one of the most famous nights in British football.
Bobby Charlton scored some magnificent goals in his time, but if you were to ask him, he would probably put that as his number one. Socrates was this masterful player, so elegant. You know, he used to strut around. You never saw him, even in those temperatures. He didn't look as if he was going to ever break sweat. He strolled around, and then he could just pull moments of pure magic out of the hat.
Moment's hesitation there. Owen still not clear as Besanov didn't quite connect. It's come straight out to Socrates. Socrates still trying to get the opening. Oh, Socrates! Whoa! What a goal!
He took the ball. You thought, what's he going to do? Is he going to play it out right, out left? He can do anything he likes. He stepped inside, right foot, top corner. Goalkeeper didn't smell it. Brazil scored probably 5 or 6 of the greatest goals that you'll ever see in a tournament. You know, I remember thinking, you know, this is the way you want to see football played.
It's a wonderful moment because it's a goal for Mexico in Mexico City in front of 120,000 people. Anybody who's watched football in Mexico will never forget it.
Negrete. And Negrete again! Magnificent goal!
It was a great move.
I think there are 5 touches there and the ball touches the ground once. It's just tip, tap, tap, tap. It's like a little training ground game that they're playing where the ball's not allowed to touch the ground until it touches the back of the net.
The scissor kick was perfection. You know, he's thrown himself up and you think, oh, he's diving for a penalty, but then suddenly he's swiveled and he's just spun the ball into the far corner across the goalkeeper.
Volley's actually hit with a lot of control. There's a lot talked about body position in analysis of volleying a ball, and I don't think you'll find any football textbook which says that the body position should be completely horizontal, as it is in that case. But somehow Negrete finds the kind of balance to be able to steer the ball exactly where he wants it to go.
Everything about that goal was South American. You know, everybody forgets that, you know, the Mexicans have got the touch, the equal of a Brazilian, of an Argentinian, and the vision to be able to do that was outstanding. What I remember most about the 1978 tournament was that you could hit a ball from the halfway line and it seemed to be flying into the top corner. Poor old Tino's off. He didn't even sniff it.
Maybe the best goalkeeper in the world at the time. Now, it's not only a shot of real power, but it's a shot by a player who's got real confidence in his ability to produce that kind of power, because you don't take on off from that kind of range unless you know you can beat him.
15 minutes between Holland and another World Cup final. Long distance shot is in! What a goal by Harry Hart!
It's always inside the post, and Dino's off at full stretch to his left and never getting anywhere near it. It's just an awesome strike.
Phenomenal. It's possibly the goal from that somebody's meant from the longest distance that I've ever seen, and you knew he meant it.
He just couldn't resist, could he? It just came down off his chest and he thought, I'm having a bit of that. I don't care if this goes out of the stadium. I am going to hit this.
Oh, yes! A fabulous strike by Maxi.
He takes a touch and he hits such a sweet strike. He just absolutely catches it perfectly. It's a very special one.
It was Pelé, a teenager, scoring a superb goal in a World Cup final. I think the context, has to be remembered, and that's why this goal definitely deserves to be up near the top.
You look back at it now, there wasn't many young players, usually about 20, 21 when you started breaking into international sides. He was 17, well, it was, what's happening here? There must be something special.
What would be the three most difficult skills for a footballer? Would chest control, lifting the ball over a defender and running around him in the space of a yard, and then timing a volley of a falling ball, would they be three of the most difficult skills that a footballer's got to perform? Probably.
For a 17-year-old, my goodness, to do that on that sort of stage, to then have the ability to volley it and finish it like he did, give the goalkeeper no chance. That was very much the shape of things to come, because he was just an incredible player.
He's still my favourite, and there's lots of arguments saying Maradona was the best player ever, but for me, it always will be Pelé.
I guess we've still got a couple of great individual runs to come. Could be wrong, but a certain number 10 here runs probably as far as the other two famous number 10s put together before he scores his goal. It's some goal.
And again, the Saudis break very sharply. What a terrific run this is. Wonderful piece of football. He's still in here. Oh, that's the greatest goal of the tournament. A fabulous goal.
That goal was one of those where you go, I don't really think he knows what he's doing. He's just running with the ball. He's just running with the ball. And suddenly he's in the penalty area and he's being tackled and he's holding things off and he's got these great big spidery legs. It didn't look like sort of brain and legs were connected, but suddenly the ball was in the back of the net and you look round and you think, how has he done that?
He could have dropped it off to other players, he could have maybe passed it, he could have had a shot from the edge of the box, but he was going and going and going and going, keeps going, until eventually, obviously, the Belgian defenders now have to try and make some sort of challenge, put up some sort of resistance, but he somehow wriggles past the last man, and then even as the goalkeeper comes flying out, he knocks it past him. So, brilliant goal.
For that stunner from Saudi Arabia's Al Owairan not to make our top 5 means we have some exceptional finishes to come. After the break, we'll show you a Dutch master, possibly the greatest player of all time, and probably the greatest team of all time. But who will top the pile? We've reached the top 5 in our countdown of the World Cup's greatest goals. So if you'll excuse the cliche, these 5 will have to be worldies. And with 1 or 2 apologies for parochialism, we'll start at number 5 with a young Englishman back in 1998.
I think what was special about Michael's goal was the fact that Argentina was scared of him. That first part of that game, he tore them to pieces. And I think that's why they were so deep when he picked the ball up where he did, because they thought that they could retreat in numbers.
I was in the stadium that night and Beckham passes him the ball and you think, OK, hold it up. We've been under a bit of pressure. Don't do anything silly. Let's just kill the game. Let's calm everything down.
Beckham now to Owen, and here's another Owen run. He's going to worry them again. It's a great run by Michael Owen, and he might finish it off. Oh, it's a wonderful goal! What an amazing moment in Michael Owen's young career.
He was so precocious at that time. A teenager who didn't have any fear. He said, well, OK, I may be a kid, but I'm going to take you all by surprise. And suddenly, the fear was in the Argentinians' eyes. As he moved towards them, they were backing off, and you're thinking, OK, now just pass it. And you could see Paul Scholes appearing out of the corner of your eye, and you're thinking, give it a Scholesy, give it a Scholesy.
There was no way, having gone through a very disciplined Argentinian defence and beat 5 or 6 players, that he was going to leave it to Paul Scholes.
and you think, hold on, that's one of ours doing that against the Argentinians. This really could be our night. This is sensational.
That was Michael Owen in 1998. He was, fast as a blur to begin with, but just so wonderfully, naively confident. Nothing fazed him, nothing bothered him. He was on that stage and he felt that he belonged from the beginning, and so once he finished the run, smash it into the top corner, and that's what he did.
You take away that memory, and you take away the memory of a press box, jaded, cynical hacks, if you like, all to a man. Even some of the Scottish guys in the press box, and I'm sure they won't thank me for saying so, were up on their feet just looking at each other in disbelief. And as the players were hugging each other and scrambling to get to Michael Owen, a load of journalists were looking at each other going, yes, and throwing our arms around each other.
Laptops flying everywhere, pens, notepads, people just couldn't help themselves. I mean, here was a young lad coming in at this huge tournament and just treating it as if it was a park game. It was, I think, definitely the greatest World Cup goal scored by an Englishman, that's for sure.
In terms of team play, in terms of almost everyone getting involved in any one goal, few would be better than Cambiaso's goal against Serbia back in 2006 in Germany. But that goal is just a brilliant example of patience. And when you hear people saying about keep the ball moving, keep it moving, and all of a sudden something might happen for you. That's the classic example of it, where they keep it. I think Sorin, the left back, starts off with it, and he goes down the left, and then it comes back into the middle of the park, goes back out to him, and eventually it finds its way, sort of gets transferred to the right-hand side of the 18-yard box where Crespo and Cambiaso link up.
Serbia and Montenegro just simply can't get the ball off them. It's Sorin again. Saviola. Riquelme. Lovely football here by Argentina. That was Cambiaso with Crespo. Cambiaso scores. It was a wonderfully worked goal.
You know what, Argentina, as I say, are very, very patient, and then right at the last minute it speeds up. It really quickens up, and the technical skill at the end, and the lovely little 1-2 and the back heel from Crespo is beautiful, and the finish was absolutely perfect, and that must go down as one of the very best all-time team goals in a World Cup.
3 touches, and I don't know which is my favourite. Control, turn, finish. Can you think of anybody who could have scored that goal with that kind of style and panache? Anybody? I can't.
Well, Dennis was obviously at the time in '98 a teammate of mine, and I know exactly that run that he makes when he peels off the defender, and obviously De Boer, who was on the ball at the time, decided that the run was going to be made, and Dennis had this perfect knack of coming short and then spinning into the hole. He used to do it with me playing for Arsenal, and it was almost a telepathic sort of thing we had together, where he'd make the run and I'd try and deliver the ball, and certainly Frank de Boer delivered for him. And after that, when the ball was in the air, I kind of knew at the time that he would bring it down, because he had one of the best touches I've ever seen as a footballer.
Long ball play towards Bergkamp. Bergkamp's come inside, and Bergkamp has scored a sublime goal, the sort of goal that only he can score.
Just remember the pass as much as anything. The Bergkamp had peeled off, and De Boer to pick him out inch perfectly from probably 50 or 60 yards, the control from Bergkamp, the balance to take it past the defender, and then just that little stab off the outside of his foot. He didn't panic, he didn't rush. It was like ice water sort of flowing through his veins, despite the fact it was 90 degrees and it was this huge match against Argentina.
Everybody was surprised, perhaps in the ground, except the people who were watching who knew Dennis, and certainly the Arsenal players at home. We all said, Dennis scored one of his usual goals last night, because that season he scored a very similar goal playing against Leicester, albeit not the same opposition, but a similar type of goal. Well, that game will be remembered for 2 goals, and quite rightly so, because obviously the first goal was not a goal, but was. And then the second goal, I think you have to remember what a great goal it was, because it was truly one of the best of all time in a World Cup, and albeit it came against England. Where he picks the ball up and where he starts his run is just Maradona to a T, and the ability to go past players. And what I remember about the goal is Peter Reid just allowing him to sort of drift past him and thinking, it's okay, we'll get back, somebody will tackle him.
Number 16, is he? Starts to chase Maradona, and actually really for a chugger was no slouch over the first few yards, but after about 3 paces he kind of starts to wave him goodbye, and Peter satisfies himself with having one of the best views in the house and one of the best goals ever scored.
I remember speaking to Peter about it a few years ago and saying, you know, Pete, why didn't you just hack him down on the halfway line? I said, you had the chance. He said, I couldn't even get close enough to kick him. He said, that's how good he was.
I think, to be honest, now he looks back, he can also just feel a privilege to have been on the same pitch as possibly the world's greatest player, playing possibly his greatest ever game.
But we haven't been able to control the play in midfield the way that Maradona has been able to do. And he's hurting England again here. It's a brilliant run. It's one of the World Cup great goals.
The vision, the pace, the balance, but the strength to hold off 5 or 6 tackles. And even when Terry Butcher comes in and slides in, most players would have collapsed underneath it. But Maradona had the wherewithal to keep his balance, pick his spot. And although Terry Butcher will tell you he probably got the last touch, it's not one that he's ever going to claim.
I think he's dethroned Pele. I've never seen such a wonderful player. He's fantastic.
It is a fantastic moment, and David Pleat said it straight away. You know, this is the best player in the world now, and that was the goal, probably his greatest ever goal. It's the goal that the victory and the team deserved. It's what they could do. No other team at that World Cup could do that. Maybe no other team before or since has been able to do that. It is their signature moment.
Carlos Alberto's goal is number 1, and quite rightly so, and it is my favourite all-time World Cup goal.
It's my personal favourite. It's one I distinctly remember as a young lad watching.
There's just a joy about it that I think sums up the 1970 Brazil side, and well, it makes you smile to watch it, doesn't it? It's exuberant, and that's what Brazilian football is.
It only happened once in the 1970 World Cup, and we know who did that. I don't think Brazil are going to do it here. Erzino, faced by Facchetti. Oh, it's not a bad ball for Pele on the right side. It's Carlos Alberto. And what a great goal that was!
Everything about that goal was just was perfection personified. The little turns, the little drag backs, and then suddenly Carlos Alberto came charging up from the back. You know, he must have run 40 or 50 yards just to get on the end of it. It was absolutely magnificent.
Their movement, their passing, their patience, their ability to take people on. That goal had absolutely everything. But the best thing about it for me was when Pele eventually gets the ball from Jairzinho on the edge of the box. There's players around him, but nobody goes to put their foot in to tackle him because they know how good he is. And he just gets the ball, he turns, he stands and he waits. Now, only Pele could do that on the edge of the box. And the actual pace on the ball he puts, he almost invites him as he hits it. I can imagine him saying to him as he make the run, go on, hit this is for you.
It was just like the ultimate sort of team goal from the ultimate team for me. And I haven't seen one that better it yet. I've seen some great ones, seen some amazing goals, but I haven't seen one that better that yet.
So our vote for the greatest goal of the World Cup goes to surely the greatest World Cup team of all time, that extraordinary Brazilian winning side from 1970. We've seen some blisteringly good goals and hopefully brought back some great memories. See you next time.
Oh, it's not a bad ball for Pele on the right side. It's Carlos Alberto. And what a great goal that was!